Hi everybody. I'm sitting in my car. I just got a little bit of gas. Not driving nowhere. And so there's been a few things going down in questions, and on top of questions, like just like the general vicinity of like sensitive topics going down. And I did a video on some of these things, and I just want to do a video again, because, a lot of people have been like, well, how do I handle this? How do I handle that? And honestly, there is no wrong way to handle anything, to be honest with you guys. There is technically. You don't want to fight. But like, in the sense as these situations, and I'll say. Okay, so, hi guys. Love you guys. So I've been seeing a lot about a lot on the topic of abortions, infertility, and stuff like that, and that's gotten pretty big the past couple of days, and it's really kind of on my nerves, to be honest, because I feel bad for everybody. And I feel like everybody has a right to have their own opinion on everything, and we can't really tell somebody how to feel on a subject. But what I will add to this is, even if you don't support something, we're Turner sisters, And I feel like that needs to be what captures everybody, is the fact that we're sisters and not like the views necessarily. And when it talks about abortion, whether you support that or not, that's your preference. I'm not a judgmental person. It's whatever you want to feel about that topic. And again, there's no right or wrong view on that. It's just whatever. And I feel like as sisters, we need to support the views. Not necessarily agree with it, but just be there. We're sisters. And we're sisters to the end. We have Turners together, and that's a big deal. And then this is where the infertility and just fertility in and of itself comes into play. Because, there's different cases. Turners is different. Some people with Turners can have kids. Some cannot. Some don't feel like there's another option. But the truth of the matter is, regardless, there's always an option. Whether somebody lost a baby because they have, like, whatever the thing is. But, there's adoption. That's an amazing, amazing choice. There's fostering, again, another amazing, amazing choice. And yes, though, it's not vaginal or, but even if you could get pregnant or whatever, that doesn't mean it's going to go as planned. And that's what I want all my Turner syndrome sisters to really know, because, you could lose a baby. But with fostering and adoption, fostering, they could take the kid back. But, that's not losing a baby, And if that, maybe you wanted to push the baby out. But guess what? We have Turners, we're at risk at so much. And it's not recommended, even if you can. So then, would you have to have a C-section and you don't want one? Births don't go according to plan. It's not this is glorified as it's pumped up to be. Like, I want kids, and I think everybody knows that about me, but the thing is there are so many amazing options, and I feel like regardless of how you have the kid, whether you do surrogacy, IVF, adoption, fostering, having one on your own, or whatever, I feel like they're all amazing and have different positives in each way. If you have one naturally or get pregnant naturally, that's amazing, that's awesome, and if you can't, and that type of stuff, there's fostering. And the amazing thing about that is that kid was so hurt, that kid gone through so much to finally have your home, a loving home, and that's going to mean the absolute world to that kid, because they've been tossed around, they've been hurt, they've been neglected, some of them. There's so many different reasons why kids go on foster cares, and of course, I don't know every single reason, and I'm not going to pretend I do. You can do that, but again, that goes with, it's called it's embryo adoption is what you read, and that can happen, but then you got to remember the risk, The risk with having a baby with Turner syndrome is serious. And if my sisters want to have that you know, whatever they want to have, IVF, if they want to have whatever, or if they have it by themselves and get pregnant, I support them. But the bottom line is it's so dangerous. Like, I had a guy when I went, and me and my ex were trying to have a baby, it was bad. He didn't want to touch me. He was like, because of my Turners, and he showed me the papers, he showed me the risk, he showed me, you have a higher chance of dying than a normal person would, even having that. And he goes, I'm not going to do that. He was like, because you're not going to die on my watch. And I'm like, basically, essentially. And I was like, thanks, you know. I mean, so, but then you have to remember that you can see the articles on all this amazing things, but then it's finding somebody who will do it for you because of our Turners. Like, because people aren't understanding how big of a deal having a baby is for Turner syndrome. And again, Turner's is different for everybody, you know. You know, if you want to do it, I support you. Do what you want to do what you feel like you need to do, you know. But again, that goes with, check your cardiologist constantly. Make sure that you're at a high risk, like they're watching you like a hawk. I mean, because one slight elevation could be detrimental to us. And that's what you guys have to understand. I'm not frowning upon it. I'm not down talking it. I'm not going to, I guess, like, not, I just wouldn't personally encourage it for my sisters. I would more encourage, I know that people are like, but that's a lot of money. Yeah, it is. But, oh, like, having that kid is so amazing, regardless of how you have it. And on top of that, just that, you know, you fill out all that paperwork, and you sit there and you wait in the waiting game, and waiting for that one phone call, months goes by, didn't hear nothing, and the phone call. And they're like, I found somebody for you. And it's just like, oh my God, awesome, you know? And then you get the first picture, you know, and it's this cute little, you know, baby that you just imagined for so long. And on top of that, I mean, depending on the agency you go through, you could get a trip out of it too. Go visit, see what that kid was raised in, you know? Like, yeah, it can be expensive, but don't let that underestimate how powerful it is and how amazing it is, you know? And, I mean, you could adopt in the U.S. You can adopt anywhere. And that's the beauty, you know, of adoptions. You can pick from anywhere. And it'll be the most beautiful thing, and it'll be what you dreamt of. I mean, the sky's the limits with that. And fostering, it's a lot of paperwork. You have to take classes, and I know with adoption, sometimes you have to take classes. It just depends on the situation. And then I know, like, you have to wait. You have to have your house checked. And again, with adoption, you have to go through this whole process too. A lot similar. But then, you know, you can talk to him saying, I really don't want to lose a kid, you know. And, like, with fostering, I don't want the kid taken away. And they'll put you with a better chance with a kid that, you know, won't be ripped out of your arms, you know. And then you can do what's called foster to adopt. It's free. Adoption. Free, guys. And you can even make it so that they can pay you child support for that kid till they're 18. When you do foster to adoption. I mean, there's so much. And again, though, there's different things for each state. But I just see so many of my sisters right now getting upset about those two topics. And I don't want that. Everyone can have their own view. Everyone is entitled to that. Everything is magic. You know? Each agency is different. Not all require it. But it's more parenting classes. It's nothing like classes as the aspect of what you're thinking of classes. It's like parenting classes, and I'm sure first aid and stuff like that to make sure if anything happened to the kid, you'd be able to handle it. But again, each agency when you adopt and foster are so different. But with fostering, you have to take those classes. You have to take those classes, parenting classes, and everything else like that. I mean, it's just because of that. Right. And I mean, that's also what the paperwork is for, and they do your house check and everything else that goes along with it. And you know, but I just see so many of my sisters right now getting in like verbal fights with each other and like arguing and saying nasty things to each other, and for what? Their view, they're entitled to it. And I'm not just talking about one person or situation in particular. I just see it all over right now about these two subjects. And it's really pointless, guys. Because at the end of the day, you're going to find the perfect option for you. And that is the most important thing. You will find you and your husband, or you and your boyfriend, or maybe just you, whatever the case is, you will find the best option for you. Whether it's adoption because of whatever reason that you have. And of course, every reason is an amazing reason, I'm sure. But I mean, regardless, though, every reason's a good reason. Every option is an amazing option, guys. And I need you guys to remember that whenever you guys are getting in the fence or someone's posting about them, maybe they want whatever, they want surrogacy. I mean, it's okay to ask questions. Would I recommend surrogacy? No way in hell. Because it's too risky. I mean, it costs so much more money. It's $100,000 just for her to have the baby in her. That's not the genetic testing you have to get done on her to make sure she won't, like, her factors. That's not. And I do know because I went through, again, me and my ex were trying to have a baby. I went through. I had to learn this. You know, that's not the court cost. And you're like, what? A court cost with surrogacy? Absolutely. You need to make sure that that person isn't going to just have the eggs, have the embryo, have the sperm, have the baby, and just take the baby away. So you're going to have to pay lawyer fees. You're going to have to pay all of her hospital fees and all of her appointments for that baby. I mean, it's so much more expensive than people realize. And if you think adoption's expensive, surrogacy is over double. I can promise you that. So, I mean... But I mean, hey, if you have the money and you want to do that, absolutely do it. I support it. But I mean, would I recommend it if people are upset about the price of adoption? Absolutely not. You're talking $40,000 versus almost $200,000, and she can still lose the baby, and then you got to do the process all over again. But I mean, and that's what you have to understand with that too. And I mean, there's so much more in depth in it. But I just don't like seeing my sisters fighting. I don't like seeing Turner's and my sisters at all arguing with each other, because at the end of the day, we're going through something that not everybody has to go through. We're going through something that's harder than a lot, you know, and we're dealing with it. And we don't need to be ripping each other's necks off because of who knows why. But what I do know is every option of everything I said is an amazing option. And everybody's going to have their different views because every person has a different lifestyle. Every lifestyle has a different option. Like for me, if I would, honest to God, right now have to pick one, hands down, right now, I'd probably do foster to adoption. To be honest with you guys, and you can call me crazy, you can call me stupid, I don't care. I mean, that ain't going to affect me none. Because at the end of the day, it's whatever suits the best person suits, you know? Each state is different with this stuff. Most of the time they do have 30 days. However, it depends, because there's safe haven laws where they can drop any baby off with no charges, no nothing, at police stations, fire stations, hospitals. So at any time they can just do that. But typically, when you're talking about somebody who didn't want the kid or couldn't have the kid and was torn to pieces about what to do because they didn't know if they could provide a good life for the baby or whatever it is, then they typically pick with them before the baby goes home. But I mean, it just depends. I mean, some people have 2 weeks, and it does vary state to state. But even saying that and how it varies state to state, I mean, regardless, I mean, if somebody knew that they didn't really, you know, want the child or they couldn't have the child, I mean, what about surrogacy? I'm not understanding what you're meaning about surrogacy. I mean, I kind of told you kind of like all there is about surrogacy, to be honest with you. I mean, surrogacy is a hard, crazy thing to do. I don't know. But I mean, if that's the option you guys want to choose, do it. I mean, and I always encourage to look in the options, look in the risk, you know, but I just want you all to take the risk seriously and carefully and manage it. But Sarah, what did you mean about surrogacy? What was your question about that? Because, I mean, I went up and I talked about it, so I'm not understanding. Oh, no. They don't have time to decide with surrogacy. That's absolutely wrong. You basically, that's something you pick. I mean, before the baby is even talked about. I mean, well, you talk about it, but I mean, you have to pay for it. And I mean, you have to pick the mom that you want. I mean, with surrogacy, and after you go through that process of elimination, they give you a list. And after you pick your mom that you would want to have the child, I mean, then it goes to, they start her on the process to have it. They go through blood work, lab work, that you have to pay for, out of pocket, and on top of out of pocket, I mean, then you have to sign lawyer papers, and that they won't take the kid, because that's always a risk that they'll have the kid, they'll want to keep it. So to protect yourselves, you should, and you better be signing those papers and doing lawyers, but then you have to pay the lawyer fee. I mean, if you guys are upset about the price of adoption, which is $40,000, I mean, you're talking $150,000 to $200,000 per try, and it's not even guaranteed to work. I mean, it's a long, hard process, but there's no waiting. I mean, once that baby's out of the surrogate mom, it's as soon as the baby can go home, you just take the baby and go. I mean, honestly. And that's the rough part. I mean, that's why you pay the surrogacy moms. They get a pocket over $50,000. They pocket well over that. And then you have to pay for their hospital bill. You pay for everything. I mean, so... And that's pretty pricey, guys, especially when you're talking days in the hospital, at least 2 or 3 days. That's probably a good couple thousand right there. On top of whatever you already paid for the lawyer fees, the court costs, and everything else you have to go through. No, they do not have 30 days to decide to want the child. You paid them to have your baby. I mean, as soon as they okay it and they want it, they don't have 30 days. I mean, you're thinking of adoption. Now, a parent that got pregnant maybe couldn't afford the baby, or maybe like just wanted a better life for the baby, you know, because there's many different options and reasons why. They have a lot of time, but I know it varies state to state, so I'm not going to quote any days. I'm not. But typically at that point, if they already are dead set on it, they're going to sign those papers like right after the baby's born, honestly. And then after the baby's well enough to go home, then they'll get to go home. But as surrogacy, no. The baby, all rights to that baby is yours. And that's why there's court costs, lawyer fees, and everything else. I mean, I'm just going to be dead honest with you guys about everything. It's very expensive. And you got to remember, in vitro doesn't always work, and that's at least $35,000 for just in vitro. And that's not the meds you have to get put on it, which are a couple grand easy that I read up on and stuff like that. Like, you guys have got to do your research. I mean, if that's what it boils down to, is you guys have got to do your research. You've got to ask questions. And I mean, I know a lot of them, so you guys could ask me. But yeah, I mean, you look at that. They'll give you a fine line on paper that you have to look at. Okay, it costs this much to do this, this, and this. And then, you know, and then that's not the meds you have to get. And you have to get, depends on the shot you have to get, you know, to make you have eggs. And then depending, because there's like 3 different tiers you can do. I mean, you can do the embryo adoption, where they just like literally just put it in you after you get your shot to make sure you're fertile, you know, and be good down there. Then they just put it in you and you're good to go. You just go to appointments to make sure it worked and just listen to their instructions, which is bed rest for like a week straight, I think it was. Or you could have to go through where if you do have eggs in you, which is a possibility, you got to remember that every case with Turner's is different. Then you have to go through, after they do the blood work, to see what is going on, and they decide from there. You don't personally decide which route you go through, unless it's the embryo adoption or surrogacy. Then you would decide that type of thing. But when it comes down to just, I mean, they could have to take the eggs out of you and then fertilize them for you, and you go back again, have them put in you. I mean, there's so much more to this process than a lot of people realize. A lot of paperwork, a lot of money, and that's not even, again, you got to remember that $30,000 could end up being $60,000 if it doesn't work. I mean, it's hard, you know. This isn't an easy topic to talk about. This isn't a fun one to talk about, you know. But you just got to remember, honestly, if you want my dead honest opinion, it's actually cheaper to adopt or foster to adopt, if you want my honest opinion. Because, I mean, you pay about $250,000 for surrogacy, and that's like one round when you do all the medical bills and everything else you have to pay for. I mean, and you do, you know, the in vitro. Just for that egg adoption embryo that you guys were talking about, that's $30,000 per egg. So, if you want a better chance, you got to get more than one egg, so you're looking at $60,000, $80,000 easy, just for 2 or 3. And then that's not the procedures for them to put it in you. That's not your medicine. That's not that lady's. I mean, they get paid to do it. I mean, so there's no cost to that other lady who's donating the eggs. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, that's $60,000, $80,000 that you, I mean, because you're not just going to want to go through all that for one. And, you know, and then again, that could not work. So then it equals out to $160,000. I mean, so, I mean, compared to $40,000 or free, foster to adopt. I mean, that's what I mean. Know what you're doing. And know your risk and know everything. Because, I mean, you guys will be like, well, I want to do this. Well, and I think a lot of us think that it's going to work because it's doctor supervision the first time, but that's not the case. That's really not the case. I mean, it could turn up, like, so freaking bad. But I'm going to end this live on here because I basically said everything. If you guys have any further questions or you guys want to ask me more or you guys maybe are having a trouble time deciding, don't hesitate to message me. I will answer all of it. Just give me some time. But I love you guys and I want to thank you guys for watching and I hope this helped you guys with these topics and I hope it helped you guys really get an eye-opening on the realistics of everything, that there's a lot of fighting going on because I don't like fighting and it's just pointless, you know. We're all beautiful, we're all perfect, and quite frankly there's an option that's perfect for everybody. I love you guys. Please, 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 if you guys want more in-depth or another one of these videos, I have another one. You'll have to look through my videos on Facebook. I did another video like this, and so I hope last video that I did like this and this one helped you guys, and I hope you guys have a good day.